talking more always fixes things.
Talking more and sleep deprivation always fixes things. Eventually you will succumb, right? So it's like if you talk and talk and talk and you're not sleeping because you're still talking, eventually you're gonna like the ego gets demolished and you're like, I just need to sleep. I'm sorry.
That doesn't seem like it's going to have as much benefit as if you just empathize with each other and apologize.
Yeah, but the sleep deprivation wears you down where you're like, all right, stop being stubborn. And
I
yourself.
see what you mean, but we've also talked during the day and it hasn't been sleep time and it's been hours.
Beyond the perfect we discover through our flaws, we complete each other. Better than perfect we stay. Through every fault we find our way.
All right, welcome back to the Better Than Perfect podcast, where every week we share with you how two imperfect people helping each other grow equals one better than perfect relationship.
And it's Casual Friday for John.
That's right.
We'll allow it because his birthday's tomorrow also.
I've got my Restore Masculinity, Make Men Again shirt. Get the back on there too.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, you can.
Maybe turn around. Healthy masculinity, protective, not controlling, honorable, not convenient, accountable, not excused, courageous, not careless, independent, not isolated, disciplined, not reckless, decisive, not dominating, respectful, not weak, stoic, not shut down, confident, not cocky, sharp, not scheming, present, not passive, calm, not cold, make men again.
Courtesy of my friend Brian from Red Stampede Co. So if you want to check out, get his shirts. He's got some good shirts. I like his shirts, but I mean this was the one I liked the most because Restore Masculinity. But yeah, Red Stampede Co. I think on Instagram. Check out his store. But yeah, thanks for hooking me up with the shirt.
And let's make men again.
That's right.
Well, today, I don't know, do we have like anything going on in the world that we wanted to talk about?
I think we should just
not the depressing stuff.
jump. Yeah, it's just nuclear war and stuff.
We're not going to put that negativity out there, and hopefully we won't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
But we're going to go a little myth buster today.
Yeah.
We're going to bust some relationship myths and put our 2 cents in about them. So, courtesy of ChatGPT, we have 15 of them.
Yeah, that's right. 15 of them. All right.
We can just jump right in.
I'm excited. Yeah. What's our first myth to bust or not bust? Maybe some of them are good.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first one is, if they really loved me, they'd just know what I need. And I believed this myth at one point. I feel like logically, you can understand that someone can't read your mind. And maybe it's more of a woman thing. I don't know. Do men think like this? That they're like, I think it kind of ties for women more to the, like, if he wanted to, he would. And so like, she'll be like, oh, well, if he really loved me, he would just bring me flowers sometimes. I wouldn't have to say it. And it's like, in some degree, it's like, you do want somebody to like spontaneously kind of do these things. Like, I get that they're not going to know like which flowers that you want or something like that. But that I think it's that women want that like spontaneity, like rather than being like, can you please bring me flowers like every once in a while? Which there's nothing wrong with saying that. And to be honest, if it really matters to you, you should say it.
Right.
But I think that just as a woman who, like I said, believed this at some point, it's like, I think that's where at least the woman's perspective comes from.
Yeah.
Especially too, like you see with women and men not like filling her stockings. We've talked about this. Like a woman wants a man to just do it.
Right. Without having to be told.
And just know that that's like something he should probably do without her being like, hey, can you fill my stocking? Because it kind of takes away the magic of it a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
And again, like, if it's something that really matters to you, you should say something and you should speak up about it. But I just think that that's where maybe especially women fall into this myth because they want that like spontaneity of it. And, so it is a myth. Like, you do have to communicate. Like, someone's not going to be able to read your mind.
Yeah.
But I do think that, men should try to be a little bit more romantic, because I think that's really what this stems from, is that women just want to feel like, they just want to feel like they're loved, because that's why they're like, if they really loved me, then they would know. And I think it's not even the knowing. I think it's that the showing.
Exactly.
It's not the knowing, it's the showing.
Yeah.
And that's what trips people up. But yeah, if you're somebody that genuinely thinks that someone should just read your mind and know what you want, like, you should read my mind right now and figure out what I want to eat for dinner later or something. Like, that's not realistic. And, if you don't give him any hints, or like, I'm feeling Mexican, then like, he's not going to know what you want for dinner. Yeah. Like, you could give him little hints or something if you want to still try to make it a surprise. Like, you'll be surprised what Mexican restaurant you go to for dinner, but you can't just be like, read my mind. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, I think also, like, I've got mixed thoughts on this one, right? So, yes, you should communicate what you want. Mm-hmm. People can't read your mind necessarily. But also, it's one of those things where it falls into the category of, you should try to do this, but you should not expect this. Mm-hmm. So you should try to anticipate your partner's needs without them having to tell you, but you shouldn't expect them to anticipate your needs without you having to tell them, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, be the one who does that, but you can't have that expectation on someone, because it's an unreasonable expectation to have. Whereas you can try to do that, right? So especially for guys, like you said, women want a man who just gets it, right? Even just understanding. That's why having good social skills as a man is important, because the man just gets it. He can read the room. He knows how to treat a woman. He knows to bring flowers. He knows these things. And a woman wants a man that can do that without having to be told, right?
Yeah.
But at some point, though, you have to learn it somewhere. So it's like, if you initially let your partner know what you want and what you like, and then they anticipate your need from that and do it without being told, then I think that's where you should strive to be, because you should really be like that. Like, women do want a man to bring her flowers and to to figure out somewhere where she would like to go to eat, not to necessarily have to ask her, but right, men want a woman to spontaneously give them blowjobs. Like, they don't want to have to ask about it's like stuff like, I mean, we did the whole episode on the romance for men and romance for women, and it's kind of that. So,
I think it's more of the romance thing, because I think that, like I said, even when I think about when I had thoughts like this, it was more so like feeling considered and feeling like my partner was paying attention to me and like wanted to understand me and like figure out the things that I wanted, more so rather than like I genuinely wanted them to read my mind.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that's where it stems from. And I think you're right that like, if men learn how to be romantic and pay attention to their partner, and women learn how to be romantic towards men and pay attention to him in the way that each side feels appreciated and like paid attention to, then I feel like it kind of busts this myth on its own. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is possible to anticipate someone's needs when you know them well enough.
Right.
I think that's the thing. It's like, you can, and you should strive to fulfill your partner's needs before they even have to express them. I think, but you can't always assume that that's always going to happen, or that, as the other person, you can't expect that.
Right.
It's good if you can do it, but you shouldn't expect it.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. So,
okay. The next one is good couples don't fight.
That's true.
Okay. Maybe the word fight, like they don't fight. They don't hurl insults at each other and scream at each other.
Right.
But so maybe if they're using the words fight.
It depends on what kind of
fight. Fight just sounds violent.
Like fist fight?
Fight sounds violent. I think like good couples disagree or they have arguments.
Or conflict, yeah.
Yeah.
Arguments, conflict,
But fight but I feel like we're just being nitpicky on the words. But
Well, I mean, but fighting is like you're trying to win. You're trying to like
that's
harm
true.
the other person.
Trying to TKO the other person, knock them out.
So I think that's right. You shouldn't be fighting
Yeah.
right. Just like, but it doesn't mean you're not a good couple if you do. It just means that like that's not an attribute that you should be striving. Like
Right.
good, you should have conflict, good conflict, because through conflict you grow.
Right.
Right. You know. So
Yeah, and you work through things.
Yeah.
So yeah, the word
Okay.
fight, we have a problem with that. But
what else you got?
number 3 is you complete me. That's the myth.
Yeah. I mean, you should be complete. It's hard because and we haven't really done an episode on dependency and interdependency and codependency, right?
We did I think we talked a little bit about
Yeah.
interdependency versus codependency.
Okay, maybe we did.
But I don't know if it was a full episode.
Yeah, but interdependency is not bad.
Right.
Because so it's like when you're dating, you need to be complete in yourself. You can't be looking for someone to complete you.
Right.
That's where the myth comes in. But when you do build an intimate relationship with someone, then you should become interdependent where you do complete each other. Even though that seems like a contradiction, it's not, because you should be whole on your own, not looking for someone to make you whole.
Right.
But then when you enter that relationship, now you're purposely giving up your one side of you to become one and be completed by each other, so that you don't have duplicity in the roles. Like we talked about this before, about you don't need 2 rocket ships, right? Instead, let's build a bigger rocket that one part is the head of the rocket, one part is the thruster of the rocket, right? As opposed to 2 rockets. Like you should be a rocket on yourself. You shouldn't be half a rocket looking for the other half of a rocket, because that's not going to be good. You're not going to be very functional. But when you take two fully functional human beings that are complete in themselves, then you combine them together and they choose to become interdependent on each other. That creates a stronger union.
I agree with you. I was going to say something similar. Like you said that you need to be an individual and complete on your own. But then when you get into a serious relationship and you get married, you do complete the new entity, which is the marriage, which is you guys as a couple. It's now this new thing that mixes both of you together. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be a complete human being before you enter into that. You have to even get to that point, because otherwise then it's all sorts of mixed up. Like you don't even know who you are, what you're doing. Like you need, like you said, validation from other people, but you don't have the like acceptance and appreciation for yourself as a whole on your own. So yeah, I agree that it's like you have to be whole, but you create a new thing when you get married that does require the other person to complete it, especially in the situation like the modern traditional relationships like we talk about. Like if you're not a part of our family, then there's no masculine energy. Like, yes, I could step up and bring that, but then that's just me doing all the things. Yeah. And if vice versa, if I was gone, then you wouldn't have the feminine side. So it's like you need both of those things when you enter into that to complete your family, to complete your marriage, to complete your union as one. I mean, that's why they say that two become one when you get married. Yeah. So
you just don't want to
each other.
You don't want to look for a partner to fill a hole in yourself.
A void, yeah.
Because then that's where you create a dependent relationship where your happiness is dependent on your partner or their moods or their, like, if you're already complete in yourself, then you don't end up you can become interdependent instead of dependent. Right. Which I think is so.
Which I feel like is a lot of people who like bounce from relationship to relationship because they can't not be in one. Like they don't know how to even be on their own and feel complete on their own. Yeah. So next one is love should be effortless.
It should it should look effortless, but it shouldn't be. I mean,
it should be given effortlessly.
yeah, that's like it's weird. It's like, yes, like the love. I mean, when we talk about this is like love is a gift. It's not earned, but it's not always easy to
I think that's
be
what
loving
they're
all
saying.
the time.
I think that's what they're saying is
Yeah.
that like love, they're meaning like the relationship, your, connection with the person isn't always going to be perfect. Like we talked about, you're going to have arguments or disagreements and things like that. And so it's not going to always be just existing and everything's fine. And then if something bad happens, then that means that it's not good anymore or things like that. Or it's not real love if it's not effortless. Like it requires, it's that like complicated thing, right? Like where people say relationships are hard work.
Right.
Like they're not hard work, but they are. Like it's hard work in the sense of the hard part is working on yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
In order to show up better. Not hard work as in it's hard to be around my partner and work through this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's hard work because you're having to face your inner demons and trauma and whatever, your old patterns that aren't serving you. That part is hard. It's hard breaking the cycles that you've been in for your entire life.
Yeah.
In order to have a more harmonious and effortless relationship. But being in the relationship should not be hard work. Right. That part should be effortless. Like loving the person that you chose to marry should be effortless. Like even in the hard times, you should still love them. Like you should still have the love for them.
Yeah. And I think some of it comes down to the idea that like love is not an emotion, it's an action. And so that's where it's like if you think that it should be effortless in the sense that I just either I should just feel it all the time. In a way, yes. I mean, you should that underlying feeling should be there, but you're not always going to feel like you're like in love all the time in the sense that like you're going to be upset at times and things like that. But the action of love is more important than the feeling of it. You can't just base your life off of feelings. You have to base it off of what are the actions that you take, right? So even if you're upset, do you still act in a loving way? Do you show love? Do you still, take that action of love? Otherwise, what good is it? Because then when you're upset, then you don't love them anymore. So,
which you shouldn't feel that way, because I feel like even if you're upset with somebody, if you really love them and care about them, you still have that feeling, even though it is overshadowed by whatever, upset emotion that you're having at the moment.
Yeah.
But you should still have that core of love for the person that you're even having the conversation with rooted in you, because I do feel like that helps make it so that you're not lashing out at your partner and you're not doing those things. Like I feel like if you just tap into the fact that it's still there, even if it's being covered up right now by emotions that don't feel good, then you'll come from a more loving place even in the hard times.
I agree. All right.
Number 5, happy couples always feel in love. That kind of goes a little bit with that one. It's like, I feel like at the core, you should always feel in love. Like, and I think people think this is a myth because I think it goes back to 2 being like, oh, like we're always happy and like romantic and lovey-dovey. Like maybe that's what they mean, always in love. But I do think like you should at your core always be in love. Like I said, there should be that moment when you're looking at your partner, and even if you're really upset and they hurt you or whatever, you're like, I love this person and, I want to fix this. And even if you're resisting it, that you have that still inside of you. I don't know how to really describe it, but it's like that should be at the core of your feelings towards the person that you're talking to. Even if it gets covered up, like I said, by some of the other things, you should still have that core because it helps keep you connected in those hard moments. And that's the key, is staying connected, even if you are upset with one another or hurt by one another, is to keep that connection and remember the love, like you said, because it's still there.
Yeah.
You just got to dig to find it and then come from a place of connection and love, even in those hard moments, which is really hard. Again, like
Yeah.
Like we talked about, the hard part is doing things like that and, not allowing ourselves to fall into the same patterns or allow our emotions to just steamroll everything and act however we want and then act like it was no big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's like you should always be in love, like to keep that. It's like what we call the honeymoon phase. Like you should always be in the honeymoon phase. It's a problem if you're not.
Yeah.
Because that indicates that there's bitterness, that's built up over time and that needs to be resolved.
Right.
Because otherwise, why wouldn't you be? There's no reason why you wouldn't be holding hands and acting like people who are in love. Like if you're not acting like people in love, yeah, that's the problem.
So this one, I would say we didn't bust because it's
there's truth to it.
It is truth in that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, number 6 is sex should always be spontaneous and amazing.
I mean, next, I agree. No, I mean, it like
you should be invested in it.
Yeah.
Every time that it happens.
Yeah.
Like you should.
The spontaneous part, I think, is the myth part because that's that's the thing that is the myth part because you can plan it.
Yeah.
You can plan if you have kids and like you're going to have to, like, you have schedules.
Yeah.
Like you can't just have things be spontaneous all the time because you also have to get stuff done and you have to like spontaneity I think is good. I think you should add some spontaneity if you're not having spontaneity. But yeah, it can be amazing all the time too though. That's like if you're put the devotion and practice into it and take the time.
Well, and the intimacy and the connection.
Then it can be amazing all the time.
Right. If you view it as like a chore or like I have to do this or whatever, then, and even women who are like, I don't really feel like it. It's, I think in the Laura Doyle book.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's mentioned it or not.
She mentioned something about for sure.
I mean, I think she said to just do it. But I think kind of like what we've been talking about in our own lives is you have to tell yourself a different story.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like if you're like, I don't want to do this, like whatever. If you have a legitimate, like you don't feel well or something, that's different. Yeah. But if you're just like not feeling in the mood or something, like tell yourself a different story about the situation. And like maybe it hasn't been a while or like, maybe your just negativity is like bringing you down. And if you think positively and you get excited about doing it, then your mind will follow suit. So it's like, if you're feeling like that, you can get yourself out of that as well too. Because really your husband or your partner is not going to be able to get you out of that negative funk no matter what they do if you're focused on that and you're committed to being in that. So you can make it a lot more enjoyable experience if you get yourself in the right mindset. Yeah. And then it'll be better than you ever thought it was. And then you're not viewing it that way. And then you can learn to condition yourself to think like that, not only in those instances where maybe you're not feeling it, but in life in general, and things will get better as well. Yeah. And a lot of times women's desire is a responsive desire. So if a woman might not be feeling it, if she's receptive, then she may get into the mood from a responsive desire, right? So, but I mean, you just have to have the right mindset about it. But also, like, you've got to actually put in the work to learn how to make things amazing every time. Like, you can. Yeah. It can be done, for sure, right? So it's like, and a lot of it falls on the part of the guy. It does. To figure out how to do things in the right way in order to take things slow, right? Because also a woman's engine takes longer to warm up than the guy's engine. And so if you understand that as a man, you can make it amazing every time. Yeah. So there we go. Can testify. All right, number 7. Once passion fades, the relationship is over. That's not true. Because you can get it back. I feel like you can get it back. Like,
Yeah.
if you feel like it's fading, maybe it's like a weird time right now. Like maybe someone or both people are in a weird phase of their life, or they're really stressed out, or they're depressed, or those things like that. And a lot of times that can make the passion feel like it's not there, but that doesn't mean that it can't come back. And sometimes too, maybe you're like, you need some spontaneity in the sense of like, you need to switch it up, like try something new, or, you know, go on a vacation and have fun, you know, like something to ignite that spark back. Because I don't feel like if it fades, it's totally gone. I feel like, when people give up on it, then the relationship is over if they've given up and they don't want to work on it. But that's the only time.
Well, I interpret it a little bit differently on what's being said, like on when passion fades, a relationship's done, in the sense that if you're saying that you can have a relationship without passion, and that's how, like, I think that some people might say, okay, well, you're going to have a honeymoon phase, and then the passion's going to fade, and then is the relationship done or not?
They think the passion fades after the honeymoon phase?
Oh, yeah. That's what a majority
then
of
why
people
do they
think.
get married? Because if that's what they think, that it's the relationship's over after the passion fades.
Because then you just go to regular life and you just like, you know.
You just exist.
Yeah. You love each other, but you don't have passion. That's what the majority of people, I think,
So you're friends. Like you love your friend, but you're not passionately trying to hook up with them.
Something like that. But that's what most people think happens. I mean, that's what most psychologists say happens in a relationship, right? So, you know, but I disagree. I don't think it has to be the case. Like we've talked about on this podcast, is that you can stay in the honeymoon phase forever. It's a matter of getting rid of that tartar that builds up, not allowing the tartar to build up, brushing the relationship teeth, flossing them
every night.
Yeah, so that you're resolving conflict to the fullest extent, so that it does not build up and does not build up resentment.
Yeah.
Because that's what destroys the relationship, what destroys the passion. Because then you replace passion with resentment. And then that's so in a way it's true in the sense that like if you allow the passion to completely fade because you're not maintaining the passion, then the relationship will die. You're right that you can bring it back, yes. So yeah. That's what I would say.
I would say that it's not over unless people give up.
Yeah.
All right, number 8. We should want the same things all the time.
Of course.
You think that's true?
Taco Bell all the time. No, I don't think that's true. Because, you know, it's like you're going to have things that you're going to want to do, and I'm going to have, like, if I was like dragged you running every time I want to go running,
oh my gosh,
you wouldn't really enjoy that. Like, and then there's things that you want to do that I not necessarily would enjoy, and but then there's things we enjoy together.
Yeah.
You know, video games.
No, I agree. You shouldn't want to want all the same things, but you should want all the same things in the core category. Yeah. Like if you want kids and someone doesn't, bad mixture.
But I think that you can still work that out. I think
it leads to a lot of resentment though.
I feel like you can work it out, meaning that you're going to have kids. You can't deprive someone of having it. Like you can work it out where the other person can be okay with having kids.
But what if that person really doesn't want to have kids? Like that's what I'm saying.
Then
like if one person's very passionate that they want kids and one isn't, then it's like you have to want the same things on like the core.
Yeah, but it can be negotiated in the sense that like just because you start in one position does not mean that, you know, it's just like we were just talking about the other night about like even like a political thing. It's like it's not an immediate disqualification. It's like you can come to agreements, conclusions, like
I think the political thing isn't, but I think like bringing a life into this world, like I think that it should be wanted by both people.
But you don't know right away. It's like
you don't know until you're in the situation.
Until you're in the relationship enough to know, do you want to have kids with this person?
But what if it doesn't change?
Because it's not just like, do you want to have kids? It's like, do you want to have kids with this person? That's what, right? If you feel like you you always say the test was like, if you had a kid and they were just like this person, right? Would you be happy? If not, then you shouldn't be with that person. So
Yeah.
So it's kind of a very similar thing in the sense that I think when you're with someone, the right person, you might feel like, oh yeah, I do want to have kids with this person.
But
so
I
it's
feel
not like
like
I want to have kids or not,
Yeah, but I feel like some people are very like no. And I feel like it's dangerous if you're very yes to try to like pursue that person if they're still continuing to be no. Like I know on our first date, like honestly, this was a thing for me that I wanted someone that wanted the same things.
Yeah.
And it did change because it's like you did give me a kid just in a different way than I thought.
Yeah.
But I would go on dates and I would say, do you want kids? And if they said no, I'd be like, okay, well, this isn't going to work out. Because like, I'm not going to, I also don't want to like wait and see if you're going to change your mind. What if it doesn't change? And then like, now we've been dating for 2 years and like, you know what I mean?
I have a little bit of a different view. I think which would be that most things in our lives, right? I know a lot of people disagree with this, but most things in our lives, we don't really decide ahead of time. Like it's not like, okay, well, I'm absolutely going to be an astronaut. Like, yeah, some people decide that, whatever. But it's sort of like you see what happens and then that opens up doors or it doesn't open up doors. But for some reason on the kids thing, a lot of people are very predetermined. I'm going to have kids. I'm not going to have kids. It's almost like, yeah, maybe you have a preference, but I don't think you should make a definitive, I'm going to have kids in this life or I'm not going to have kids. I don't want to have kids because that when you create such a definitive statement about what your life is going to be, you may be shutting doors or opportunities that like you kind of have to feel it out and see like, okay, maybe you get into a relationship and then you both decide that you want to have kids together. But if you have pre-decided ahead of time or they have pre-decided against it ahead of time, you've created an unnecessary conflict. You're not creating an opportunity where there could be an opportunity.
I hear what you're saying and I agree with what you're saying.
Okay.
But I also think that you're a man and it's different for women. Like a lot of women do decide that they want kids or they don't. And it's because we're the ones that bring them into the world.
Yeah.
We want to be mothers. We have that nurturing part of ourselves. That is what the true feminine core is.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like it is different. Like what you're saying makes sense.
Yeah.
And I agree with you because I wanted kids and then I met you and you already had a daughter.
Right.
And so now I feel like that part of me has been filled even though I haven't birthed the child personally.
Right.
So I get that you do need to be open to potentially your idea of what you have in your mind changing because you can still get what you want. It just might look differently.
Right.
But I do feel like women do either know that they want kids or they don't. And if they're on the fence, then I feel like they are usually open and depend on the person.
Right.
But I feel like if you're someone from a very young age that was like, I want to have kids and, do finger paints with them when they grow up and do all those things, like they're pretty set on wanting to have that experience and nurture
but
the child. But some women are like, no, I don't want to have kids. And, it's for one reason or another. Like maybe they don't want to pass down things that they think they're going to pass down to their kid or whatever the reason might be.
But let me give you a counter argument to that.
Okay.
So this is the counter argument. Suppose that as a young girl, you decide, I want to have kids. I want to finger paint with my kids, whatever. And you base your life on this. And then it doesn't happen for one of many reasons. One, you don't end up getting married. You don't find the right person. You have an infertility issue, right? Like it's not a good idea to make such a set decision in your life. Like a preference to be like, I think I would like to have kids someday. I'd be open to having kids someday. But if you make a very definitive thing about anything in your life, they're like, it must happen this way. Then you can also make wrong decisions, have kids with the wrong person. You can be like, my life is ruined because I wasn't able to fulfill my purpose in life of having kids or, so that would be my counter argument. Like I get what you're saying, but I would also say that at the same time, it's, it might be more healthy to not have such a definitive, like, I have to do this, because if you're unable to do that for some reason that could be outside of your control, because a lot of this is outside your control, then.
But what about society telling you to reproduce? Because that's another thing as well too. And as women, we have this like biological thing going on that's what we're meant to do, you know, which I feel like whether you have kids or not, that I'm sure women have some sort of grief over like not doing the thing that your body was built to do.
And this is what I tell guys all the time. I'm like, it doesn't matter what a woman says. Okay. If you get into a relationship with a woman, assume that she's going to want to have kids at some point. And if you're not okay with that, then don't get into a relationship with her, not a long-term committed relationship, because that's most likely going to be the case. And so as a man, you need to figure out how you can be okay with that. Right? If you want to have a long-term relationship. Because even a woman that says, I don't ever want to have kids, if you have a really good, intimate relationship with her, and
she's going to want to make
and the time starts ticking. Exactly. And then the biological clock starts ticking, because it might not be ticking at 22. But at 28, 29, 30 starts to tick. Then even if she said she didn't want to have kids, she's going to start to say most likely that she does. And so you already have to be prepared of this. So, I mean, so ultimately, like, it should just be, the default should be, yes, you are going to have kids, right? Unless you're, you know, because you can't even, as a guy, like, you can't even pre-negotiate that. Because like I said, if a woman says that she doesn't have kids, that doesn't mean that she doesn't want to have kids. If a guy says he doesn't want to have kids, it's more likely that he means that, but he could be convinced otherwise. So...
like someone else I know. Okay, so you shouldn't want the same things all the time.
Well, because even when I met you, before I met you, before I met you, I was like, okay, well, I mean, I had my daughter, and I thought I would never want to have kids again. Like that, that's enough. I don't want to.
One and done.
Yeah, that's it. But when I met you, I honestly felt like, oh yeah, if Nicole wants to have kids, I would do it for sure. Even still, if you want to, I would still. So
don't tempt me with our AI baby. Our AI baby's cute.
We got way off track.
We did. Hey, that's okay. All right, number 9. Talking more always fixes things. We know that this is, in fact, a myth.
But is it though? I mean, so we got some 8-hour discussions that eventually fix it.
It's about quality, not like how long, because we've talked in circles for 8 hours.
Yeah, that's true.
But when we talk more effectively, it doesn't last nearly as long.
Yeah, that's true. I think there's also though, but you should talk it out.
Yeah, no, that doesn't mean you shouldn't talk at all.
However long it takes,
And the more that you talk to each other just normally throughout the day and throughout your life, I feel like it makes the conversations, like the hard conversations, easier a lot of the time.
What's the myth? What does it say?
Talking more always fixes things.
Talking more and sleep deprivation always fixes things. Eventually you will succumb, right? So it's like if you talk and talk and talk and you're not sleeping because you're still talking, eventually you're going to like the ego gets demolished and you're like, I just need to sleep. I'm sorry.
That doesn't seem like it's going to have as much benefit as if you just empathize with each other and apologize.
Yeah, but the sleep deprivation wears you down where you're like, all right, stop being stubborn. And yourself.
I see what you mean, but we've also talked during the day and it hasn't been sleep time and it's been hours.
No, I agree. I mean, it's not just talking. Doesn't always.
It's not the
sometimes
length of time.
Actions need to happen, not just talking, right? To fix things. Like you need to see something. You can't just talk
by the words.
Talk. Yeah. Got to bring the game.
Okay, so that one's a myth. 10. Honesty means saying whatever's on your mind.
No.
I think we all know that that's not the case. But you should be honest and you should tell the truth. Yeah. But you should be considerate of your partner.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, not what's on your mind.
All right, 11. Marriage will fix our relationship.
No. It will break your relationship if it's broken. It'll break it more.
I guess my thing is like, do people genuinely believe that? Do they genuinely believe that now legally bonding yourself to somebody that you're already having problems with will fix the relationship.
I think it could help you if it was taken more seriously than it is today, in the sense that having a strong commitment where it's like, no, you're have stuck. To figure out how to work this. So just like, when you have two kids that are like fighting and you're like, okay, well, you're both going to be locked in this room until you work it out or kill each other. Right. It's like,
what?
You never had that happen
No.
as a kid? You never got in a fight with someone and your parents said, all right, you guys are locked in
we
this
just
room.
both got in trouble and I was so mad.
You ever got locked in the broom closet together with someone? No, I'm just kidding. But, or you handcuff two people together, right? That's a movie plot, right? It's like, until they figure it out and they fall in love. So it's like, if you're stuck and you have to work it out, you will. That's why arranged marriages work out so many times. But in general, I would if your relationship's not good, getting married is not a good plan. Just like having kids is not a good plan.
Well,
right?
That brings us to the next one. Having a child will bring us closer.
If not getting sleep and not having sex makes you feel closer, then yes.
I mean, I guess I can kind of understand this one a little bit more because they're like, oh, let's create life and be a team and work together to raise our child. But like you said, that's like the sunshine and rainbows talking. Like raising a kid is very hard, especially in the early years. I haven't had one personally, but I know plenty of people who've had babies. Yeah. And like you said, they're getting no sleep.
No, they're just little demons at first. They got... It's like, how's that going to make your relationship better? Like,
again, I think it's because like the collaboration of working together to raise a human being. They think that, oh, this will like make us work together because we have like a unified front, a unified thing we're working towards, right? But it doesn't work like that. It can definitely cause, I feel like, more issues if you're already having issues.
Well, you don't even have the time to sort out your issues then. So you got to get your issues sorted out because you don't even have time to have a conversation to actually get the sleep deprivation. You're getting the sleep deprivation, but you're not having the talking.
Right. Yeah.
because you got to, because you're going to be busy.
Babies need a lot. A lot of attention.
And a lot of times also like it's going to cause a separation in the relationship because many times when the baby's first born, the baby needs the mother's care like all the time, and so if your relationship isn't very strong, because it's important in the first couple of years of the baby's life, not that you shouldn't like not spend any time with your husband, but it's going to be, that the baby's going to need the mom. Yeah. And so she's going to have to give a lot of her time, less to the husband, more to the child during that time.
From like 0 to 4 or 5 is like the most formative years for like development throughout the kid's whole life. Like that's where a lot of our core beliefs and things about ourselves and the world and things like that form. Yeah. You wouldn't think that it would be that young, but it is. Yeah. So, all right, 13. If we're meant to be, we shouldn't have to try this hard. I think I also used to believe this myth. I used to be like, oh, well, it was in other relationships that were harder than this one. Yeah. Like, I would just be like, I think that it should be easier, that we should be able to communicate and we should be able to like do this better. I used to believe this myth. But I think though, in some ways though, that again, it's like being with you is not hard. Right. But facing all the stuff is hard. Exactly. Yeah. And so, but I do think though, in relationships that I wasn't meant to be in, the relationship did feel hard. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And so maybe this one's a little bit true in some ways.
I think so. Because I mean, look, 95% of the time, me and you, we just get along perfectly well. Yeah. No problem, no conflict, nothing, right? 95% of the time. 5% of the time, okay. But 95% of the time, and that's how it should be. Yeah. And that is not something that I had ever experienced before. Mm-hmm. And it's not something that most people believe. They're like, so you guys don't like say nasty stuff to each other every day? Just like
every day?
most people do that. Most people, I mean,
Every
you've been in
day?
relationships before. You get annoyed, you get irritated, you're like snip at them or whatever. Like it's not a big fight that you're having every day, but most people are like, exchanging just some small verbal blows, every day. That's most people's life, really. Like, but it doesn't have to be like that. It shouldn't be like that.
Which I think too, that I think maybe this came about to like normalize the struggles that people are going through. But like you said, they're not normal. Like they've been normalized.
Yeah.
Like saying little comments to your partner every day is not normal.
Right.
But it's been normalized.
It's been normalized.
And
for
I
sure.
think things like this pop up to like make people feel better about those things, but that it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
So this one we're saying is true.
What was it again?
If we're meant to be, we shouldn't have to try this hard.
Yeah. It's that
You have to try hard in
yeah.
working through your stuff so that
Yeah.
you show up as a better partner, but you shouldn't have to try hard to love each other or feel like you're meant to be or feel like you're soulmates.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think you like the try hard part is that like you have to have a high level of standards where it's like you're not going to just get annoyed with your partner or insult them or whatever, because if you had the standard low, then you're going to do that stuff. It's not a matter of whether you're meant to be or not. Like your standard is too low for the relationship, and if that is the case, then you're not going to want to be that way, but you're going to be that way because you're holding yourself too much of a lower standard. Like you do have to try in the sense that, there are going to be times that you're going to potentially get annoyed, but then you have to not act annoyed and not like you have to still be patient and not take your frustrations out on your partner, even if they're not the one annoying you. Like those are things that you have to try to do.
Yeah.
So there's some truth to that part of it, I would say. Yeah.
All right, 14. In a strong relationship, we should do everything together.
We kind of addressed that one already, right?
That you should do the things together, but you don't have to do everything like running.
Right, exactly.
I'm not going to run, sorry.
Someday you'll run.
But I think though that like, yes, not literally everything, but I think that you should want to do everything together, even if you don't do them together.
Right.
Like there are times when I'm like, oh, I wish I could run with you, and I could, but I'm not going to.
Someday.
Because I want to run with you just to be with you and to experience that
you can
with
bike.
you.
You can bike when I run.
Which I have done that before. But like the desire to not run is greater than that desire. So
Than the desire to be with me.
to be with you in every single instance.
Okay. Yeah.
Even in ones that I would be struggling in.
Yeah. No, I agree with you though. I think that makes sense. Like that you would want to be together,
Yeah, I think it's like when something happens, if you want to tell your husband, like you can't wait to talk to your husband or your wife or whatever about it, like that's wanting them to be there, like wanting to experience all the things with them.
Yeah.
Is like being excited to talk to them about it. But like
the opposite of
you
it is
can't
like
be together 24/7.
No, it's like going on girls' trips or guys' trips. And it's like you're going on vacation without your partner. That's the weird thing where it's like, no, there's something wrong there. Like, why don't you want to be with your partner experiencing the things,
the vacation,
rather than with your friends? So
yeah, and you can do other things with your friends.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. Changing for your partner is always bad.
I disagree.
Wrong.
And this is actually maybe the best myth on here, is because people say this all the time. They're like, you shouldn't have to change.
Don't change me, or like, you should love me for who I am.
But it's true that you shouldn't try to change your partner. Right. But again, you as a person should change for your partner.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, I shouldn't have to change who I am. No, you should. That's
you should want to.
Yeah, that's the point of being on this planet, is to change who you are.
Right.
Like
to
maybe
grow.
not at your core, right? You shouldn't but even people are like, well, I shouldn't try to like something that I don't like. Yeah, you should. That it's like when you were 3 years old and you didn't like
Was that like
vegetables.
a little hint at running? You're like,
Oh,
you
well,
should
no.
like something you don't like. Come running with me.
That's how I got into running. But when you're 3 years old, you didn't like broccoli. Like if you're like, oh, I'm not going to change what I like.
Yeah, you'd be eating chicken nuggets.
That's
every
it.
day.
It would just be chicken. So it is true that you should change for your partner, especially if things that you're doing are harming your partner, or you could be a better partner for them by changing in certain ways. It doesn't mean that you have to completely change yourself in order to make them happy and you miserable.
Right.
That's not what we're saying.
Well, I don't even think you change yourself.
Yeah.
I think you change the way that you operate and you get rid of the patterns and the cycles that you've been in. But I don't think it changes who you are.
Yeah.
I think you change by unlearning unhelpful and unhealthy habits that you've picked up, that we've all picked up, or survival mechanisms, or, like I said, the trauma like that you've been through, like that you've been holding on to. I think you change those things. You change how you operate around those things. You let those things go.
Yeah.
Or you make new habits, which is hard to do. But I don't think you change who you are.
Not at the core. Yeah.
But a lot of people identify those things as who they are.
Right,
But
exactly.
you can't identify those things as who you are.
Right.
Like, that's not at the core of who you are. Those are just experiences that you're attaching yourself to.
Yeah.
But you can change those things without feeling like you're changing yourself.
Right.
But if you identify with those as yourself, then it does feel like you're changing you. And a lot of people hold on to fear and those experiences so that they can use them in some other way to defend themselves. I mean, we'll get into like the end segment here as well because it kind of ties in with this. But, I think that is also what people should focus on is you're not changing who you are.
Right.
Like
exactly. Yeah.
you're not, completely redoing who you are at your core.
Right.
You're changing the way that you operate based on your past that you're bringing to your present and your future that aren't serving you.
Right.
And they're not serving your relationship, and they won't serve you because you're at a different stage. Like you said, like if we never changed, we would be eating mushed peas and I don't know, like who knows what else, but like change is the only constant in life. And it's true. But a lot of adults resist it.
Right.
Thinking that is beneficial to them or
they can't be loved if you don't love me exactly how I am. You know what I mean?
that's also like a fear thing too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's also this like, you have to prove to me that you love me by me acting in a way that is hurting you, but you still have to love me anyway. Which it's like
yes and no.
Right. Like that happens,
right.
But it doesn't happen naturally when you're told to do it. It doesn't happen the way that you want it to when you're forcing somebody to prove to you that they love you by you acting in a way that you know is not beneficial to you or them.
Right, exactly. Because yes, you may be forcing them to prove that they love you, but you're at the same time proving that you don't love them. Right. Because
Brain
you're not
teasers.
willing to do anything to make them happy.
Right.
But you want them to do everything to make you happy. They want you to not, you want them to make you happy by you not having to do anything.
Right.
Right. It's like, yeah, you should love unconditionally. You shouldn't try to change your partner, but you as a partner should want to change yourself continually to become better.
To be the best version.
Yeah.
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 Well, that was the last one.
Yeah. The other way I think about it too, real quick, is like, it's like, if you're married, you have to think in a less selfish way. A lot of times people think, oh, I don't want to change this. Like, well, yeah, but also you're in a committed relationship, married, where this is the only person that your partner is going to have as a partner. So if you can't be the best one that you can be for them, then you're depriving them of the only opportunity that they have because you're asking them to forsake everyone else. So why can you not fulfill the things that they want? Why can you not try to be the things? And again,
That's
not
a good
completely changing it,
shift.
but it's like, because I think that myself, I'm like, okay, I'm Nicole's only husband.
That's right.
Right. And so if she wants anything out of a husband, I have to give it to her. right? And if I don't, then I'm doing her a great disservice by denying her that, right? And so should I change? Should I try to do things that make it so that she feels like she's getting everything that she wanted out of a husband? Yes, right? It makes sense. Otherwise, otherwise I feel like I'm depriving you of that opportunity.
No, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah. And if you really care about the person that you're with, which you should if you're married, then that's a good way to view it and view it from a different perspective, because I don't think people shift their perspective like that a lot.
Yeah.
And it is a good way to look at it, especially like you said, like this is the person that you chose to marry. Like this is the only husband that you're going to have for the rest of your life, or you're the only wife you're going to have for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
How can you be the best version of that for them? How can you make them feel loved every day and appreciated and all of those things, because they deserve those things.
Yeah. If you have a child, if you have a little girl, would you not want that girl to someday marry a man that would fulfill all of her dreams and treat her like a princess and like treat her as special as she deserves to be treated?
Yeah.
So then why would you not be that man?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it goes vice versa for women as well. But, but yeah, that's how I think about it. But
no, that's good. I'm glad you added that at the end.
All right.
Now time for our stuff. I messed up. I was trying to talk to John about my feelings, and I didn't do it in the best way. And I tapped into my old masculine energy to try to conquer the situation, but it didn't work out very well. And you were like, just come to me for help and ask me. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And that's a genuine thing. Yeah. I do know how to ask for help, but I think the biggest thing was that it's you don't, as a woman, you don't want to feel weak. Mm-hmm. You want to feel strong enough where if you're on your own again, that you can handle yourself. And I know I've talked about in the past that, you should have the confidence from the time in your life that you did that. But it's honestly hard to let go of sometimes. I don't feel like it constantly shows up in our relationship, but it definitely did yesterday. And it is also a defense mechanism of the fear of being abandoned, which a lot of people have, And so instead of searching for connection from you, I hold my ground against you, and that doesn't harbor connection either. But as someone too that didn't grow up with a lot of affection in general, and didn't really like affection even as an adult until you came along, it's still hard for me to even though affection comes easy towards you, in the moments that I'm upset and I'm feeling hurt, it's extremely hard for me.
Yeah, you tend to isolate, I think is what.
Yeah. I'm definitely an isolator, an avoidant, a shut down, type of person.
Yeah.
So it's you telling me to come to you and be like, I need help, and cry, or be beg you. It pains me to even think about, but you're not wrong.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just so different that it's very, like I said, it's very easy to get wrapped up back in the same sort of cycle that you're just been used to for your whole life. And I feel like probably a lot of women do get in the defensive mode like that, because deep down we are fragile. And if we feel like other people aren't going to protect that, then we feel like we have to. And a lot of times it's to our detriment when we do find a person that is there to protect it. It's hard. I know you and I trust you and I know you wouldn't want to hurt me, but it's my brain is telling me, you don't know. You still don't know. And I'm I do know, but my brain's defend yourself anyway. And it's just not the right way to operate. And I'm sorry that I did that to you. And I am going to work on not responding in that way. And again, it's hard to break these patterns. It's hard to break patterns you've literally been doing for 30 something years.
Yeah. But it's free.
But it's necessary.
And it's freeing. It's freeing too. You know, it's
It
like
is.
you don't have to protect yourself because you've got someone to protect you.
Yeah, which I feel like a lot of women hearing this are probably like, no, you have to protect yourself, because that's just what we've been taught to. And I get it, because it is a better thing to teach women to protect them from guys that aren't there to actually protect them. But you do have to learn when to turn it off with the person that you trust. And that I feel like we need to teach more of, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like women do need to lay down the shields, lay down the weapons when they have a man that is there to protect them and has proven that. And, you know, it's hard to do, but it is what needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's a matter of also like, when you do that, then a man will step up. You know what I mean?
I think women are afraid that he won't, but I think that you're right.
I'm not saying that that's always the case, but you know, like a good man will step up, right? It's like, it's very hard to not respond to a woman needing help.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the thing to remember, is that it's like, but I think maybe as a man, you feel like, well, if she's defending herself, she's protecting herself, then she doesn't need my protection. You know, it's like it makes you feel like useless and like, why am I here?
Like a frog. It turns you into a frog.
It does. That's what it does. But I mean, it is a hard thing, and I do appreciate you know, saying all of these things. And
well, it's true, and I think more women need to hear it, because I know I'm not the only one stuck in this cycle, you know? And I feel like maybe too, it is a little bit more with avoidant women, because we've talked about on here, it is more masculine to be avoidant in general. And I feel like with the anxious attachment, you would probably get the like, oh, like, help me, or I'm so sorry, or like, you know, the clinginess that comes with the anxiousness.
Yeah.
And maybe it would feel different to you. So I'm sure that the avoidant part does feel cold and like very masculine. And I don't want to act that way. I don't want to be anxious and cause me to live in like an anxious state. But I understand that, like, I can't, like you said, I can't expect connection and do the opposite. You know, it kind of falls into like, I'm definitely not the person that's like, love me for who I am. You do all those things. But in that instance, it was similar to that. Like, I was expecting you to comfort me, and I wasn't giving you any comfort or things like that either.
Yeah.
And I thought that, like you had said, like, I was talking to you calmly, and I was talking to you rationally, and I wasn't calling you names. I wasn't yelling at you. But that's not really comforting someone. That's not really connecting with them.
Or seeking comfort is really the thing. It's like, you know, it's like, like being stoic as a woman, it's not really impressive to a man. Like, it's better than screaming profanities, but being what's the word I'm saying? Like vulnerable, like in the sense of like coming to like letting down the guard, right? Like being like there's some other word I want to say, is like willing to be like cry and be willing to show weakness, like to be like weak in the presence of a man, of your man. That is impressive to a man. That, you know
it's just hard when you've never done that.
Yeah.
It's hard when like you've never ever done that, because you don't feel like anyone's ever properly cared for or protected that before. And I know that you can do it, but it's like having to convince your body that this one person won't let you down if you do this is incredibly hard. It doesn't mean it's not necessary. It is necessary. But that's what the struggle is like, because we've been on here talking about other things that I've never learned because I've never been in those situations, but you do have to learn. I posted something not that long ago that being in a good relationship is like one of the greatest teachers or something along those lines. And it's true.
Yeah.
Because you face all these things that on your own, they don't pop up.
Yeah.
Like when I lived by myself, if I was upset and I just sat with myself,
right.
I'm having a great time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so it's necessary. It's hard doing the work on yourself to be a better version, but it is worth it. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sorry I turned you into a frog. And I love you.
A bullfrog.
Bullfrog mindset.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode. Then check us out on our website, betterthanperfectpod.com. Click the subscribe button on there, and you can get an email when a new episode comes out. And I don't know. I think you can comment on the episodes too. How about that? That's fun.
And leave a review, please. Yeah. It's been a while.
And we'll see you next week. Take care.
Through every fault we